Good evening. She was the Mayor of Christchurch for 3 terms and arguably one of our most popular. So why would she bother going back into the circus ring for another term, this time as a councillor and Deputy Mayor? Tonight, Vicky Buck joins me and Lynched starts right now. Good evening, thanks for joining us. So it wasn't that long ago Christchurch Deputy Mayor Vicky Buck told me she was keen to get her feet under the council table to nurse, and I quote, a sick child back to health again. Didn't you? She was referring to the previous dysfunctional council, I think. So is that sick child on the way to full health again? Well, let's ask Deputy Mayor Vicky Buck. Good evening to you.
Hi, Chris.
It's not going to be that painful. You were laughing at the titles, thinking you're going to be hung, but you won't be, trust me.
Okay, right. Thanks.
So let's start with the sick child analogy you made on ZB. How are things now? Is that sick child at council getting better?
So I think what we can see now is the whole prognosis. So we now know the financials, and we kind of know where we might be on insurance, and we know what the issues are. So now it's just a matter of sorting them. So I guess in some ways, if you can see the whole picture, there's always solutions, I think.
So the sick child is on antibiotics that should kick in a couple of months' time, or what?
And it's good that there's a public health system.
Yeah. So tell me this then, what do you see is the most important issue for you as a councillor facing this city right now? If there's one issue, what would it be, Vicky Buck?
So, I mean, one of the things has to be getting the finances back in order. Yeah. And just having certainty around finance, because the size of the hole there, the financial hole, is the like of which I've never seen before, so that was a whole new thing to discover.
But did you expect that to be that big?
No. To say no, I didn't expect it.
We're talking $500 million, aren't we?
Yeah, and possibly
that and
more.
The rest.
Yeah, so yes, and no, I didn't expect it to be that bad.
But that's only one report. We've got another report out shortly to talk about more financial issues, don't we?
Well, no, I think in totality we're talking about somewhere around $500 million upwards, and that's quite enough. The rest is
that's enough for you.
That's quite enough, and the rest is sort of how we resolve that. So there are always ways of resolving things, and I think one of the things that people want at the moment is some certainty about that. So here's the problem, but also here's the solution, and there are solutions. So we need to make sure we get that out as well, so people can just get on with doing the things that they love doing. And I think the other thing that is really noticeable in Christchurch is how many people are doing things that they probably would have thought impossible to do. So this kind of anything is possible attitude that's coming through very, very strongly. I mean, there is huge tiredness, exhaustion, all those sorts of things. But there is, on the other side, and sometimes intermingled, enormous sort of can-do, anything is possible, go and do it, make it happen, out there in the community as well. So I think we want to capture that.
Well, I hope we can. Anything is possible. It sounds well and good, but is anything possible when, essentially, to be fair, I would say Mr Brownlee has a great say over this city, for better or worse. I mean, you know,
Well, I can understand that if you come in with a lot of government money, you're going to want a lot of say. So I can understand why they're there. I think we can look forward to a time when that reverts to very local control, and we need to plan for that and
when
get that right.
When will that time be? Because when I spoke to Roger Sutton on this program, he said Sarah will exist after
Beyond
2016,
yeah.
Which I know a lot of people inside council will be going, oh, really?
No,
can you give us back our control?
I think that's to be expected. A number of those contracts will still be in place after 2016. But I think what we need to do is make sure that we're working together and make sure that what we're working on everything comes back to the city having control, or to the local people.
Let's talk about working together with Sarah and the council. When Raf Manji was on this program, and he said it many times, he was still very much concerned there was far too much duplication between council and Sarah, and therefore not enough was getting done because people didn't really understand what they were supposed to be doing. And then on the flip side of that, you have other people saying, well, no, that's a good thing, the more the merrier. But you're nodding your head saying there's too much of that.
There is duplication. And so one of the things that we've started doing, and probably the best thing we've done in relation to that, is that the CCDU people come in every Monday afternoon and spend 2 hours with the whole council and work through a range of things, and that's only an arrangement that's 3 weeks old, so it's new.
And how's that going?
I
Are
love
you
it.
serious? That's only 3 weeks old?
That's only 3 weeks
Who
old.
instigated that?
It's taken that long to actually get in
So
place.
are you saying now councillors now sit down and have a cup of tea and a cheese scone?
We don't get
with
the cup of
CC,
tea, but...
Oh, that's right, the free
There's no
lunches are
cheese
gone.
scones.
So you now sit down with members of the CCDU, government agency and council, and this has only been going on for 3 weeks?
No, on a fully, like all the elected members.
Yeah.
So the cooperation between the council staff and CCDU and Sarah has been ongoing. That's been there. But there has been some reluctance to talk to elected members. And obviously that means a whole lot of duplication in terms of people rebriefing everyone. So it's just much
that
easier.
shocks me, you know,
Yeah,
reluctance to speak to elected representatives who I and the rest of the viewers helped vote in.
Yeah. Yeah, but
That's
we're getting there.
Vicky
I know. I found it extraordinary too. But the cool thing is that there are solutions and that they are being put in place. So that's now sort of getting to the point where it will become a habit, and we just sit down and debate a whole range of things. And that's a way better way of working. It's so much better. I mean, we all want to do the good things in the city, and so if we can do them jointly, it's so much better. But I think one of the things that you come back to always is just getting that energy and excitement that's out there pushed into the formal systems of government.
How do we do that?
I think, actually, I've just come from a really interesting
Does an
meeting.
election help?
No, well, I don't just mean central government, I mean local government as well.
I know.
So, like, how do you actually make sure that you can do things that are fantastic and above and beyond what you would normally do, and how you can capture that amazing energy that is out there and make it happen? And that's the big challenge, I think.
But hasn't part of that energy already started now with a new lot of councillors with perhaps a slightly different or a fresh pair of eyes saying this is what we want to do?
Yep,
Does
and
that
new lot
help?
of councillors, and there's new CEO, and there's a whole new structure there. And I mean, part of what she's there to do is to adopt that can-do attitude and to make things happen and to pick up on that sort of innovation and excitement that is in the community and sort of both drive it out and bring it in.
Well, I want to talk about that next, about the energy, and get a bit more specific with you.
Sure.
So coming up, the challenges that face ratepayers and the ongoing migraine that continues for the councillors. Stay with us. Welcome back to Lynched on CTV. Vicky Buck is my guest. Vicky, in terms of getting that energy back inside the council, we've already spoken about how it's probably there now with the new set of councillors, but you want still more community engagement with, well, the community. Well, I was talking to Paul Zanin from the Brighton Business Association. He's a classic example of a man and Tony Brooks doing their thing, getting some energy back into New Brighton. But the one thing when I spoke to him on ZB the other day that he was concerned about, the only roadblock he still sees right now is the council.
Yep, and that's...
How do we change that then?
So the roadblock he's seeing is actually the funding that he wants for it, which does need to be addressed and which is currently all being prioritised in terms of every community as well. Because what's happened is that they've gone and kind of first up, best dressed. So they all need to be prioritised so that we can say this is what we're going to do within the resources that we've got available.
Has the ongoing flooding issues in the city made it tougher to decide on who gets what? Because once again we've been hit with yet more trouble.
Well, and more costs as well.
Yeah, that's right.
So, I mean, there is obviously flooding has a huge impact on people's lives. It also has a huge impact on rates because the cost of those additional flood events is about $5 million. So that's about 1.5% of rates. And obviously stuff like the Crown Manager, the costs that are associated with that, which was kind of predates us. It's about
$2,000 a day.
Well, no, but just stuff like the insurance for those things. The total cost of that's about $9 million.
No, I'm saying Doug Martin gets $2,000 a day.
Yes, but that's actually...
Can I be the Crown Manager too?
That's the least. Well, actually, we don't really want any. So much and all as we love you, Chris, we'd really like to get rid of all of them.
But seriously though, let me just touch on that now that you brought it up. Thank you very much. $2,000 a day. How does somebody get paid $2,000 a day?
But the big issues are in terms of getting the building consents back and actually not having a Crown Manager there. And so that exercise has been hugely expensive. It's not
Has it been worth it?
Well, I guess if you get the building consents back, that's key, and that's what's driving us. We would love to get those back in the next few months, so that the Crown Manager's gone and we can get on with issuing lots of building consents properly. So those things are really important, and you're constantly kind of feeling like there's a tsunami of things coming at you. But there is a lovely team of councillors. Like everybody gets on well, which is fantastic. So
no A team, no B team, no divisions.
Oh, I mean, people have differing views on things, as you would expect in Christchurch. It wouldn't be Christchurch without that, which is fine. But they're not sort of nasty about it or anything like that. So it's a lovely team to work with. There's actually
early days, Vicky Buck.
No, I think they're fine. There's really good people working there as well, and there's this amazing energy in the community. I mean, you talked about Brighton. That's true of so many communities, of people who want to do things. Just a really simple example, and it started on Facebook actually, is we were talking about planting fruit trees, and so many people have said, look, we'd love to do that. And we've said, well, look, we haven't got any money, so here's the deal. You'll have to buy your own fruit trees, tend your own fruit trees, and then they're in public
space. You'll provide the plot.
Yeah, we'll provide the space, we'll provide education about what species survive really well, and then it's available for everybody, so we've got a whole food forest.
I want to come back to council finances. How are we going to sort it out? There are three options I see, and raising rates, selling assets, or saying to the Prime Minister, we need more cash. There's no quick fix solution to this.
And there's not one solution either. So, I mean, rates is the primary means by which councils get money, but we have to be acutely aware of the kind of the fatigue and the exhaustion that is in the community and just how much people can tolerate. So
rate increases don't rise with people's wages. That's the other concern.
No, that's very real. And obviously we need to make sure that we're doing things well, so we need to drive savings within the organisation as well. So we have done that this year, and we will do that again next year, because there are ways of doing things that are not as expensive as the way that we're doing them.
Give me a tangible example.
In this last year, for example, we've had to save something like, I think, $11 million in operational expenditure, and that's across everything. So it may be that you don't do things in the same way as you used to in the building consents, because that required a lot of people and too many administrators sort of thing.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, there was always that perception, wasn't there, the too many middle managers inside council. Has that changed now, do you think?
I think it's been undergoing quite a major process of change since probably last year, and it will continue to have some changes. There have been quite dramatic changes in the council actually, and Carlene's obviously the new CEO has just arrived on Monday, so she's barely had time to
What do you think, Carlene, is the new CEO? Edwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think her priority should be? Is it to cut costs?
I think, well, that's obviously a key one, but I think it's that can-do attitude rather than we're here to stop you doing things. It's kind of like, here's a community that is amazing, actually, if you look at the Christchurch community. And I had a look at that.
They're good people.
They are, actually stunning people. Constantly I'm reminded of that, and that's actually the lovely thing about this sort of job.
I agree.
You do get that reminder.
That are still full of hope and joy, despite the fact they've been through so much crap. And that's humbling, isn't it?
And they're actually kind, and they want to do things for other people as well. So that's the joy of it. I mean, there is amazing joy in working in this community. So I think part of what local government and actually central government as well, but that's not my field, can do, and part of what I see Carlene doing is kind of that can do. How do we make this happen rather than how do we be the block to this happening?
I just want to show the viewers your swearing in speech for a second and see if things have changed in a few months. Take a look at this.
I feel like I'm here because the council obviously has a total belief in recycling. But I just want to say thank you to the people of Riccarton Wigram for their trust and confidence, and I hope to repay that. It is indeed a special privilege at this time, but the only way that we are going to rebuild this community and this city is all of us working together. And that means a great deal more of us listening and you talking.
Vicky Buck, during that day, you were full of hope. What has changed since then?
We read the cost share agreement.
That's an excellent answer. And you thought,
No, I am a
I want out now.
No, I've never thought that. I knew it was going to be. I knew it was going to be interesting.
You're not full of hope now, right? You want to walk out that door.
No, I don't want to walk out that door. I think this is an amazing town, and I think the community constantly coming in and telling us stuff. Like, it was a privilege actually in the annual plan just to hear what people are doing in probably every community in the city, and just the amazing things that they want to do as well. And so how can we just kind of either get out of the way or just let them go ahead and do that without stopping them.
You sound like you're eternally optimistic.
I am, I'm afraid.
Are you realistic though?
I am. I don't think.
With the greatest respect.
I don't think the two are necessarily polar opposites at all. I think I am a realist, but I am optimistic because I see about me all the time amazing people, and so it kind of feeds itself really. And I guess if you see that in people, then you tends to reinforce your belief in it anyway.
Thank goodness for that. Well, when we return, I want to discuss the residential rebuild and the hope in our city at a time when there feels like perhaps there is none. Stay with us. Welcome back to Lynched on CTV. My guest is Deputy Mayor Vicky Buck. Vicky, the All Right campaign, it's a sensational campaign that brings a lot of joy to people. They do funny gags and people would have seen it, all around town, the various things they do. One thing I was not quite sure about though, and perhaps you can relax me on this, is a couple of weeks ago they released another study saying we're still depressed, we're still struggling. That is true for many people, but I do wonder whether we're getting to that point now where a lot of the mental health advocates are getting a bit of money, they're getting a bit of funding to put out these reports, because to be honest with you, in my newsroom, when we saw there was another report coming out about how we're feeling, we all rolled our eyes and said, we know how we're feeling, we're buggered, we're tired, we're frustrated, we want to find a home that doesn't cost $800 for a one-bedroom place. We know that, so why do we need these officials to reinforce us, tell us that we're a city that's broken? Is it necessary, or does that mean we can get an actual finger on the pulse as to how we're feeling on a more, I suppose, official level, if you like?
I think what's quite nice about that campaign is that it's, apart from telling you how everybody else is feeling, so you don't feel like you're only feeling it yourself, that you're not the only one that's
true.
Feeling exhausted and tired and sick of dealing with the insurance company and sick of dealing with EQC and things. Everybody else is as well. It's quite reassuring in that way. But it's also got some little positive things of actually just take time out, go and have a cup of coffee with a friend and go for a walk and do those things. You don't actually have to go 100 miles an hour and be Superman or Superwoman.
No, you don't, and I completely agree with that. I want to talk about the CBD project issues now. I mean, I initially loved the Disneyland-looking, blueprint. How could you not get inspired and feel a sense of hope seeing, beautiful-looking stadiums and convention centres?
I'm glad you
nice
liked the
gardens.
picture.
I did. I love the pictures. Might be all you get for a while. Well, yeah, as you say, that might be all I get for a while, because I'm still staggered though, Vicky Buck, is that there were no business plans, business case models created for these wonderful events. And now we're seeing the wheels fall off, aren't we? The convention centre may be downsized, the stadium is years away.
Well, the difficulty of the stadium is that the council's contribution to it is, if it goes where it currently is planned to, is $253 million. And so that's a huge sum. So can we afford that in the next 5 to 8 years? No. And it's as simple as that, basically.
So what do you think we can afford then as a council? Because we've signed a deal.
The key things, I mean, I think there's going to have to be negotiation room over the stadium, but the key things I think that people need to get back into having a feel that there is a city. I mean, there's a huge amount of building going on in Central City now.
That's true.
And stuff like that crossing development that's now sort of the car park sorted. You've seen the Innovation Precinct start to make the first announcement. There'll be a lot more announcements down
But
there.
also the Vodafone building, $50 million building from an international company. For me, that felt like the first time I felt like, wow, finally a major international corporation has decided to go,
and watch that space for some more.
We'll give it a chance. And I know you're right. And the good thing about that, I hope that Little Wee Cafe and business owners will be inspired to scatter themselves around the perimeter of this building to feed all the tikis. I mean, that's great, isn't it?
Feeding
that's progress.
tikis is a serious job.
Well, it is. Better cash,
They drink
folks.
a lot of coffee. So, yeah, and we kind of need that energy in the city, but it also needs to be in the communities as well. Like, there are vast new communities out the southwest, northwest, northeast of Christchurch, and they need things that we know, because in the annual plan it came up time and time again.
Like community facilities,
yeah,
correct.
like libraries, community facilities, community...
So how do we get them back? Because I remember the council was toying with the idea of saying if you want these facilities, you might have to dig into your own pockets and build them yourselves.
No, things like swimming pools are a community thing. We've got to do those. We just have to do those. They're not debatable, really. We need to prioritise where they go and spread them around so that everybody feels like they're part of this community. But that's going to be the big challenge. And I think there's a lot of little things that matter as well. Like what we've tended to have, since we haven't had a CBD, is a lot of quite strong communities developing, and it's really important that they keep that sense of strong community, that they feel great about living there, that they're nice places to live, that that it sort of feels like something is happening in their area as well.
What they also need is affordable housing.
Yes, they really do.
And that's a big topic for you. I know you're all for social housing, the council providing more social housing. Ref Manji was sort of like, no, let's not go there because the council's core function should be roads and rubbish. Leave the social housing to Housing New Zealand. No. You have very much a different view on this.
I do.
What do you say about that?
So the council has been in social housing since 1938. It currently has about 2,200 units that are occupied by individuals or couples or families. And to say, 2,200 people are not going to have homes in Christchurch would be revolting beyond belief, in my view. So not only do we need those units, what we need to do is get more, not just social housing, but actually affordable housing that we don't need to own, but just making sure that there are actually options for people who are currently paying $600, $700, $800, sometimes $900, and that's not okay.
So you're saying the council, one of its core functions, has to be housing people who can't afford the market rate because it's just destroying lives.
Yeah, it has been for 70, 80 years, and the situation now is worse than it has been in any time that I can remember.
Has the government done enough?
So what the government is doing is working with us. So they're doing 2 housing developments on our land, and that's costing them $75 million. And then what they're also saying is because our current model, we don't qualify for the government subsidy. So as the second largest landlord in the country, where local government doesn't qualify. So it's for a strange reason. I honestly can't explain the reason. But they're saying, well, actually, if you do it this way, we will give you that subsidy, which is important and really good.
I was quite surprised to hear Dr Nick Smith say a few weeks ago that housing stock in Christchurch will be back to pre-earthquake levels after 2015. Really?
He might mean Housing New Zealand stock. Certainly.
He must have.
Yeah, no, he
sounds too good to be
because
true.
we're 11,000 homes down.
We've got 30 seconds left. I always like to end the interview with somebody giving me a sense of hope, so I can enjoy living in Christchurch. What do you say? Give us something. This is a great community. And actually, I think out of this adversity, we will actually get better. I think people are actually amazingly kind and really lovely to each other, and I think it's probably the best place in the world to be living at the moment. I feel like I've been through a counselling session.
Hope it worked.
Really nice to see you. Thanks so much for coming in. I really enjoyed speaking to you today. Deputy Mayor Vicky Buck, everybody. That's our show. We'll see you next week. But from me and all the CTV team, good night.